All right, so welcome to this Introduction to Syntax, and this is based on Language Files, Chapter 5, and just the first sections of the chapter, Part A. So as we talk about syntax, the first thing you guys have to understand is the different categories of free morphemes. You need to be able to identify what's a noun, right? And we've probably heard it's a person, place, or thing, which is right. But what is a thing exactly? That's a pretty broad category. Sometimes it's an idea or an abstraction. What's a verb? Excuse me, you'll have to pardon my cold as I do this. What's a verb? That's an action word, except sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes it's a linking verb like am, is, are, was, were. A determiner, that one's probably new for you. That tells you which noun you're talking about. Is it the book, a book, any book, all books, some books? Those are determiners. Adjectives describe nouns. Adverbs describe verbs or adjectives. Conjunctions link ideas, and prepositions are used to say anywhere a mouse can go, in, through, on, etc. Now, this is a terrible way to do it. As a result, what I'm going to do is look at some sentences and lead you through. So let's look at this first sentence. Books are heavy. So books are a noun. Nouns tend to take anything you can pluralize with an S tends to be a noun. Anything you can follow the word the with, so the book, the house, the dog, the idea, generally those are also nouns. Are is a verb, right? We said that linking verbs are verbs, but as well as action words, which we'll get to. And then heavy is a word that describes books, so it's an adjective. Women manage the branch. So women, well, that's something you could put the in front of, the women. That's an idea. You can pluralize women. In this case, you don't add an S, but you have woman or women. So that's a noun. Manage, well, that's a verb. That's something they're doing. Anything you can make past tense as a verb. Manage, managed. The branch. So the is a determiner. It tells you which branch, all branches, some branches, a branch. No, the branch, one in particular. And then branch is a noun. Remember, we can make it plural, branches. We do have the word the in front of it. So branch is a noun. So far we have books, noun, are, verb, heavy, adjective, women, noun, manage, verb, the, determiner, branch, noun. The happy pig eats oats quickly. Okay, so the is a determiner, we've already said. Happy is an adjective. It describes pig, and pig is a noun. Eats, that's a verb. Oats, that's a noun. You see it's pluralized. And then, not quickly, quietly, quietly. So that describes how, the verb, it describes how the oats are being eaten. So anything that answers the question how is going to be an adverb, quietly. Or in what way is it done? Quietly. Adverbs often end in the ly ending, so that's sort of a trick too. Some large planets are made of gas. So some, that's a determiner. Large, that's an adjective. Planets, that is a noun. Are, verb, made is a verb. So in this case, are made, that's together is the verb. There's two parts to the verb, and we'll see how verbs can be super complicated. Of, that's a preposition. So prepositions, we say, are anywhere a mouse can go, and the word of. So of is not a place a mouse can go, but it is a preposition. So a mouse can go on, in, through, under, with, to. So you can go with, go to, go on. Those are all prepositions. Of is just the only one that doesn't talk about a place a mouse can go. So a place a mouse can go tends to help you think of all the possible prepositions. Gas, that's a noun. The dog in the park runs quickly through the field. The, determiner, dog, noun, in, preposition, that's where a mouse can go. In a mouse can go in the table, in. The, determiner, park, noun, runs, so that's a verb. Quickly, okay, that explains how the running is done or in what manner, so that's an adverb. Through, that's where a mouse can go. A mouse can go through the field, through the grass, so through is a preposition. The, determiner, field, noun. And then finally, the girl and her dog play aggressively on the trampoline. So the is a determiner, girl is a noun, and is a conjunction. It's one of those linking words like and, or, but. They connect ideas. So the girl and her dog. So her is a determiner. It tells you which dog you're talking about. Her dog. Dog is a noun. Play is a verb. Aggressively describes the manner they play, so it's an adverb. On, another preposition. The, a determiner. And trampoline is a noun. So if you were just sort of a little fuzzy on some of those ideas, then maybe what I've done has helped you. If you're still really fuzzy, then there are a lot of online tutorials on this. So go find out what parts of speech are. You need to be clear on what a determiner is. You need to be clear on what a noun, what a verb is. You're going to have to do a little research. The book obviously has help as well. But if you listen to this, you read the book, you watch the other videos I have on the channel, on the that I have in the module section of your course. If you still don't understand after all that, you need to make sure you get to this, because otherwise this is not going to go well. It's not hard, but it does take effort on your part. And that's because we need to understand parts of speech in order to understand how things are built, how sentences are built. We know that all sentences are composed of a noun phrase and a verb phrase. But that just begs the question, what's a noun phrase and what's a verb phrase? So we're going to go through and see all the possible noun phrases and possible verb phrases, or I shouldn't say all the possible ones, but we're going to see some of the possible ones. And we're going to start to understand how all of these parts of speech, these different nouns and verbs and adjectives and determiners, can be added together. So let's take a look. So first of all, we said that a sentence has a noun phrase and a verb phrase. That's always true. Every English sentence is noun phrase plus verb phrase. So there are some examples of noun phrases and verb phrases. So flowers bloom, children play, the man sits, the woman runs fast, a child throws the ball, and all schools have students. Now, so these are the noun phrases here, and then these are verb phrases. Now, notice, noun phrases have more than just nouns in them. Now, some of them are just nouns, flowers and children. Some of them are a determiner plus a noun, the man, the woman, a child, all schools. And later we'll even see you can put more things in a noun phrase. Verb phrases, on the other hand, are sometimes just verbs, bloom, play, and sits. And sometimes they're verbs plus things, a verb plus an adverb, runs fast. A verb plus another noun phrase, throws, and then the noun phrase is the ball. This noun phrase is made up of a determiner and a noun. And then all schools have students. So this one has the verb and then a noun phrase, and this noun phrase happens to only be a noun. And it's okay, even if you just have the one word, we call it a noun phrase. It's just a noun phrase made of just a noun. So again, you shouldn't be super clear on this yet, but it's sort of starting to come into place that what we have here are sentences that are always composed of a noun phrase and a verb phrase. And then noun phrases can be lots of different things, a noun, a determiner and a noun, determiner and adjective and a noun, and verbs can be different things, a verb plus a noun phrase, a verb plus two noun phrases, and so forth. This is not an extensive list of everything that a noun phrase can be or everything that a verb can be. This is only to get you thinking about how these sentences, flowers bloom, children play, the man sits, the woman runs fast, a child throws the ball, and all schools have students. These sentences are following the rules of noun phrase plus verb phrase. And so then we can get into a little bit more of what noun phrases are. So I'll give you some examples. A noun phrase can have a determiner, it can have an adjective, it has to have a noun, and it can have a prepositional phrase. So I put the things that it can have in parenthesis, and the thing that it must have is not in parenthesis. So noun phrase is maybe a determiner, maybe an adjective, must have a noun, maybe it has a prepositional phrase. So here are some noun phrases with just nouns: books, cheese, and happiness. And notice, you could have those noun phrases start sentences. Books are exciting. Cheese tastes good. Happiness is elusive. Okay, so books is the noun phrase, and then are exciting, that's the verb phrase. Cheese is the noun phrase. Tastes good is the verb phrase. Happiness is the noun phrase. Is elusive is the verb phrase. Other noun phrases, you can have determiner plus a noun. All kids, the park, a house, any computers. Those are all noun phrases. You can have a determiner and an adjective and a noun. A happy home. The fleeting sense. Some good pizza. You can have just an adjective and a noun. Quiet place. Rowdy house. rowdy crowd. You can have a noun plus a prepositional phrase. Dog in the park, boy on the couch. So, oh, by the way, prepositional phrases, just since we haven't actually gone over them, are made up of a preposition and a noun phrase. So, in the park. But notice, you could have a prepositional phrase that is the preposition in, and then any other noun phrase. So it could be in books, or in cheese, or in all kids, or in a happy home, right? So you could have a prepositional phrase made up of a preposition, and then any type of noun phrase could go. So all of these things could possibly come after the preposition in, or the preposition through, or to, or from, or on, or with, or whatever. But I just wanted to show you here that you have a noun plus a prepositional phrase, and that's what makes these noun phrases. So all of these could be the noun phrases that start sentences, but then the end of sentences is a verb phrase. What can be a verb phrase? Well, verb phrases can just be verbs: runs, sleeps, sits. So we could say the mouse. That would be the noun phrase of a sentence. The mouse runs, the mouse sleeps, the mouse sits. Those are all perfectly grammatical sentences, and that English speakers hear them and say, yep, that's a good sentence, makes sense to me. But a verb phrase can also be a verb plus an adverb. Drives quickly, eats slowly, parks carefully. In that case, you would have something like, the man drives quickly. The cow eats slowly. The grandmother parks carefully. Sometimes a verb phrase is a verb plus a noun phrase. So eats the cake. Eats is a verb, and then the cake is the noun phrase. Right? Determiner plus noun. The cake. Noun phrase. Directs the group. Directs is a verb, and then the group is a noun phrase. Made up of the determiner and a noun. The group. Salutes the happy officer. So you could say the enlisted man salutes the happy officer. So the enlisted man, that would be a noun phrase. The enlisted man. The is a determiner. Enlisted is an adjective in this case. Man is a noun. The enlisted man. And then salutes the happy officer. That would be the verb phrase, the end of the sentence. Salutes is a verb. And then salutes is a verb. And then the happy officer is a noun phrase. And notice it's a noun phrase that's made up of a determiner, an adjective, and a noun. The happy officer. Then you have sends the company the letter, right? The man sends the company the letter. The woman gives dogs some food. So this is a verb phrase with a verb and then two noun phrases. Send is a verb. The company is a noun phrase. The letter is a noun phrase. Send the company the letter. Give dogs some food. So if I say children, give dogs some food. So children would be the noun phrase that's part of the sentence level. But then the noun phrase plus this verb phrase, give dogs some food, would make the sentence. So in this verb phrase, give dogs some food, you have the verb give plus noun phrase dog, another noun phrase some food. Right? Give dogs some food. In this case, notice dogs is a noun phrase all by itself, because remember, you can have a phrase that's made up of just a noun. Right? Noun phrase made of just a noun. Just like here, you could have a verb phrase made up of just a verb. All right, and then finally, throws the frisbee to the player, sets fruit on plates. So this is a verb plus a noun phrase plus a prepositional phrase. Throws the frisbee, that's a noun phrase, to the player, that's a prepositional phrase. And remember, the prepositional phrase is made of what? A preposition, to, and another noun phrase, the player. Sets fruit on plates, well, you've got the verb sets, you've got the noun phrase fruit, and you've got the prepositional phrase on plates. In this case, on plates is made up of a preposition, on, and a noun phrase, which in this case is just one noun, plates. All right. At this point, you should not be an expert on this. You should be like, oh, I kind of get what you're doing, but wow, there's no way I can remember that yet. That's okay. You're not supposed to be memorizing this. When we finish this unit, you're supposed to understand that, oh, sentences are made up of these phrases, and these phrases have rules or certain things that go together, and you got to figure them out. And the rules are based on parts of speech. Like, is it a noun? Is it a verb? We don't call them parts of speech so much in linguistics as syntactic categories, meaning each free morpheme, each word is put in a category of where it can show up in a sentence. And we organize those syntactic categories in certain ways following these phrase structure rules. So as we're looking at these phrase structure rules and saying, a sentence is a noun phrase and a verb phrase. Well, what can go in a noun phrase? It can be a noun, it can be a determiner plus a noun, or an adjective plus a noun, etc. What can be in a verb phrase? Well, it can be all of these different options. You need to understand the concept, not the specifics. As I'm walking through them so quickly, you wouldn't be able to do that with me, but you should be starting to go, I see his point. I see how this kind of works. And then lastly, we want to understand that arguments are required parts of phrases. So notice that in a verb phrase, an argument is a verb. You have to have a verb if you have a verb phrase, right? In a noun phrase, you have to have a noun. But then there are other things that are called adjuncts, which means that they're optional parts, they're optional constituents. So an adjective is an adjunct of a noun phrase. I mean, you could have an adjective or not, but you don't have to have an adjective to have a noun phrase. You can have a noun phrase with just the noun. Boys, girls, right? Those are noun phrases. Girls eat pizza. Boys quietly listen to the teacher, right? Boys is the noun phrase, girls is the noun phrase. That's fine. But you can also have adjectives. You could say studious boys quietly listen to the teacher. Well, then studious boys is an adjective plus a noun phrase. But in order to have a noun phrase, in order to make a sentence with a noun phrase and a verb phrase, you've got to have just a noun. So the noun is the required part, the argument. The adjunct is the optional part. And then the final thing you need to know is that arguments and adjuncts can be used to describe the co-occurrences of words, meaning sometimes we talk about the arguments and adjuncts of phrases, and sometimes we'll say that something is an argument or an adjunct of a word. And by that we mean, like, if I say the word send, well then what are the arguments? Well, if I say the boy sends, okay, well what do you have to say? You gotta say something. You can't just say a sentence like the boy sends. You have to say the boy sends the letter, or the boy sends the money. Right? So that would be an argument because you have to have that noun phrase there. So send requires that you have a noun phrase that comes with it. So we can say that the noun phrase, the letter, is an argument of the verb send. Or in the sentence, the boy gives the food. The boy gives the food. Well, that feels a little weird. You need to say to somebody, right? The boy gives the woman the food, or the boy gives the dog the food. So we would say those two noun phrases, the dog and the food, are arguments because they're required in order to make the sentence seem normal. You have to have them. If you're going to say the boy gives, then you have to have two noun phrases. Gives what? The woman, the food. The dog, the ball. Right? You have to have them. Those are arguments of the verb give. And then adjuncts, well, adjuncts are things you could have or not. You could have an adverb, gives it happily, gives the food quickly, gives the woman the food angrily, right? Adjuncts are not necessary. They're just things that can go with the verb give, but they don't have to. But when you say the verb give, you've got to have some nouns there, otherwise it doesn't make sense. You can't just say the boy gives. No, gives what? You need to say more. So when we think about arguments, we're thinking about things that are required. When we think about adjuncts, we're thinking about things that are optional. Now, using these rules, and again, these are not all of the possible rules, these are just a few examples, we can build sentences. So by knowing what are determiners and what are nouns, then we can say, if you put a determiner in a noun, then you can get a noun phrase. And if you put a verb in a noun phrase, then you can get a verb phrase. Well, and how do you make a noun phrase? Well, any of these ways. So you can put all these things together and you can start to piece out how sentences are made. And you can start to piece out what goes with what. Which, by the way, is what we're going to be doing next class.